in the morning, fire on the stove, love in a pie, that's the life we know. From the fields to the table, every bite it shows. Primarily me, the taste of home. Primarily me, the taste of home. Primarily me, the taste of home. Mama in the kitchen, we never eat alone. Primarily me, the taste of home.
Prime Mill Meal, pure, proudly Zambian, the taste of home.
Before 2022, millions of Zambian children stayed home, not because they didn't want to learn, but because school was unaffordable for many families. Today, things are much better. No more tuition fees, no more PTA fees, and no more examination fees. More than 2.5 million children are back in class across the country, from villages to towns, from the cities to the districts and provinces. Schools are feeding our children and classrooms are full again. And with the Enhanced Constituency Development Fund, communities around Zambia are transforming education. More classrooms are being built, more desks are being made, more teachers are being hired. Because Bali cares, he has delivered this for all children across Zambia. Because free education is not just a policy, it is a promise to every Zambian child, a promise that poverty will not decide their future. A promise delivered.
What is love if you don't give it away?
Want to charm a woman anyway, because you are built to pursue.
A purpose marriage, really, and it takes a lot of intentionality.
True companionship is not proximity. It is a mutual knowing. Intentional love will always win. Join us for Love Diaries, where couples share their love stories, play fun games, and more. Love Diaries, where love is honest, learning is constant, and conversations matter. Love Diaries, love will always win.
henna muligisi idekoda ya Topstar amwebere magani atugwa munchiri agasimpe amumasena momukala ambunga abahimuwezelela twambo bahyomega abahimulimo twamwetela magani muhyogo yonse hajihi anamajaja wa Prime TV2 channel 110 ninganda ileta magani mbwabele.
We are fixing this continent. This thing of you guys moving from one country to the other, it's no longer working. We don't want this as African people anymore.
Before 2022, millions of Zambian children stayed home, not because they didn't want to learn, but because school was unaffordable for many families. Today, things are much better. No more tuition fees, no more PTA fees, and no more examination fees. More than 2.5 million children are back in class across the country, from villages to towns, from the cities to the districts and provinces. Schools are feeding our children and classrooms are full again. And with the Enhanced Constituency Development Fund, communities around Zambia are transforming education. More classrooms are being built, more desks are being made, more teachers are being hired. Because Bali cares, he has delivered this for all children across Zambia. Because free education is not just a policy, it is a promise to every Zambian child, a promise that poverty will not decide their future. A promise delivered.
What is love if you don't give it away?
Want to charm a woman anyway, because you are built to pursue.
A purpose marriage, really, and it takes a lot of intentionality.
True companionship is not proximity. It is a mutual knowing. Intentional love will always win. Join us for Love Diaries, where couples share their love stories, play fun games, and more. Love Diaries, where love is honest, learning is constant, and conversations matter. Love Diaries, love will always win.
It's another lovely and beautiful good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the Sunrise Breakfast Show. Of course, your number one breakfast show that wakes you up early in the morning. And of course, this is PTV2, the home of breaking news. If it's not PTV2, then you need to verify it. This is where we get to inform you, where we also get to inspire you and empower you through the conversations that are shaping the nation. My name is Rhoda Mlenga, and of course, this morning I am joined by my co-host, Dominic Kapeli. Good morning, Dominic.
Good morning, Rhoda. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How was your night?
It was great. I can't complain. It seems you're feeling cold this morning.
No, it's not the cold, it's the fashion.
Oh.
You need to dress a certain way. And, fashion and smartness knows no weather. So that's what it is. But yes, thank you, of course, viewers, for choosing us today and to begin your day with us. We never take you for granted, of course. We are broadcasting live on Topstar, Channel 110, and streaming live on our Facebook page. That is PTV2 Zambia. And remember, the Sunrise Breakfast Show is not just a program you watch, but it is a program and a platform that you participate in it. So you can send your views and your messages, of course, to the number 0972-036-306. That's 0972-036-306. Bear with, because here on the Sunrise Breakfast Show, your voice does not just matter, but it helps us shape national conversation.
Absolutely. And before we dive into, the big stories of the day, let me ask you, Dominic, what is on your mind this morning? What did you wake up thinking about? Did you wake up to any big story, anything that crossed your mind this morning?
There was a video circulating on social media, and I think it was xenophobic in nature, and there were quite a few things that were being said, and some of the things that were being said were quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you look at it from a broader perspective, there are things that we can sit down and negotiate better and talk about better, of course, but in the manner in which it wasn't a good thing, of course, and we had people being chased from their, allegedly being chased from their country, being told to leave, and such things are not good. And I believe as Africa, we are one people, and of course, borders should not separate us. But also, there's a different view of development of where we come from, developing where we come from, and making our place a better place. Of course, that has been on my mind, and of course, what has been happening at Levy, of course, has been on my mind for quite some time now. And and yesterday the United Party for National Development, of course, opened for applications for those that are vying to stand on the mayoral and those that are standing on MP, councillor, and so it's quite a lot, and I believe it's going to be a jam-packed week.
Absolutely. And knowing that today is, we call it a Women's Morning or a Women's Day. Yesterday we did see something very, very encouraging. And of course, we could draw, a little bit of lessons from that. We did see media personality Chichi Daisy and Mtale Mwanza, also media personality, share, a hug after a marathon or a series of, court sessions. We do know that this case did stem from one of the media personalities, Mtale Mwanza, who did, publicize or wrote something about Chichi Daisy, who's also a media personality, some defaming, statements. But later on, Chichi Daisy did not take it lightly. She took it to court. And I think that from that, people did understand another person. She did take it seriously. She took it to court, and they had a series of court sessions. And we did see that at some point, Mwanza was distressed. But, I think they did come to an agreement, and Chichi had to withdraw, the case. But we also saw a bit of emotional moment yesterday. It went viral on social media. They shared a hug, and I think it's a huge lesson to a lot of people that have a huge following that like to take advantage of their platforms to defame other people or to speak ill of other people. That the cyber law or the cyber crime law is very, very serious, and it's taking it's not taking matters lightly. So you need to be warned that anything that you speak online or anything that you write about somebody online will definitely be used against you one day.
I think it's good it happened that way, of course, because a lot of people have learned, and to have a public figure like Mutale Mwanza put her guard down actually and be distressed and be scared. I think it's a big lesson to a lot of people, and people that are following her have learned also to say this is not right, and of course, and I like the after reaction, of course, though it wasn't expected, but I like what happened, and of course, other people in the process were also insulted and defamed allegedly, of course, yes, and. People writing over social media, say sorry to also this one, say this sorry to this person, and I think she also accepted it. Of course, through the what we have the shots on social media. Of course, allegedly she responded and acknowledged that. So, which is also a good thing. It's a small step for her, but a big step for the whole population of Zambia. They should understand how to use social media. We should not abuse it, but use it to our benefit. Yeah.
We are living in a generation where we have been, blessed to have social media, but we also need to be careful on how exactly we use it, not just for the public figures, but for the common individual or the common Zambian citizen as well. People are watching. What you need to know is that when something is on social media, it's on record. Even if it's like 6 weeks, it's 6 years, if you have to go back to it and, cite it and say on this particular day I was actually, defamed, and you have proof of it, then definitely you're able to sue someone. So we need to be careful on how we use social media. We can use it positively. I mean, a lot of people are using social media in a positive way to create content. They're getting money out of it. I think in Zambia, we haven't yet, we can't get like a lot of money out of content creation in terms of generating content, maybe from Facebook or TikTok, but you can use it to also get people to sponsor you, or to sponsor your videos, to advertise on your social media platforms and things like that. So we have a lot of content creators that are using social media to their advantage, and you can also take that opportunity to educate people on different things that are going on in our country. There's so many things that we need to be educated on as the Zambian youth. So you need to take advantage of that to just educate, the masses. You never know who's watching. The Ministry of Education can be watching if you are doing content related to education and come in and sponsor you. The Ministry of Health, we've seen them sponsoring a lot of content creators. So we have social media in our hands and we can use it to our advantage. So that is definitely a lesson that most of us are able to learn, in that, they have a lot of following. So I know that most of the people that are following them are young people. So definitely they have learned one thing or another. And also just the issue of women supporting women. We did see in that particular case, in the embrace that was happening yesterday, the emotional moment that was happening yesterday, that people do have a heart to also give a second chance.
And I saw a clip on social media. I saw John General getting back from yesterday.
Oh, yesterday was really
getting back from court, and I don't know if he came with the whole church members. I don't know if he was performing some miracles or some prayers, but it was packed. It was packed. It was really, really packed. Yesterday was quite interesting, of course. And those that are, of course, on social media, on their platforms and seeing what's going on, of course, you can testify that Facebook and these other social handles were actually filled with a lot of things that's going on.
I don't know if you can help me out on this one, but I don't understand how, I'm not referring to yesterday's case by, John General, but just looking back at some of these papas that we've seen, sometimes there's even evidence that this person has done this and that, and they're not, like a true man of God, but they still have like a huge following.
So I'm not a psychologist about this, but I'll give my honest opinion. And dear viewers, if you're watching, you've got an opinion, you can also drop your comment, of course, on Facebook, and you can send it on our number. There's a lot to deal with our mental faculties. So these are people that we believe and trust with what they do, and they've helped us on one way or another. all right? They might have given us good advice on maybe a business deal. They might have given us faith about a job that we had lost faith on. And they might have done a lot of things, of course, you know. So just one particular incident, making me, I understand, the members understand that these people are also human beings, right? And they also understand the fact that these people can be tempted, these people can be trapped. So I believe there's that refusal and that denial to believe and say, okay, this small thing cannot take away. This was a temptation, and then so it's quite quite an interesting topic actually. I think we need to bring us someone who can talk about mental faculties and how the mind works, you know.
Especially in that particular area, because I really don't understand. You know,
but it's again you women.
You can say the majority
are women.
The majority,
because
yes. Don't say you women, because it should
I'm
be the majority.
You are
no, you cannot accuse me.
At this point, you are standing for them.
I will say the majority of women, because when you go to these churches where, you know, their leaders, they call them papa. The majority you find women.
But the church
you find
women,
maybe 5, 6 men present, you know, in a church service, but the majority are women. In that, I really just don't know. I can't get the grip of it, but I feel like women have they're very, very easy to convince, I should say. No, we are very easy to convince.
You're easy to convince, yes, and you are an attraction. An institution without women is not a proper institution. A church without women is not a church, because a lot of people, a lot of men, we go to church for different reasons. We go to church to marry because we want to be stable. And women understand that we men marry for stability. You understand? So they'll be in church praying and singing the loudest, even out of tune, you know what I mean? So as long as I go to church, and you women understand these certain things. But again, you're easy to convince, then you just get over, you know, I don't know what happens to you people. You tend to respect your papas more than your husbands. Whatever rules they give you, they're overruled by your papas, you know, and I don't understand how you...
And we are also talking about people... you know, when you go to these churches, most people that you find, I'm sorry to say this, your phone and saying, in the next 2 minutes you receive an alert, someone who's...
But you know, again, looking at our current economy, I will stand on a different scope and look at things on quite an objective point of view. I was taught, go to school, get good grades. After you are done, you're going to get a good job. We went to school. We got good jobs. We even went to do nursing. 5 years down the line, we have not been recruited. You see? The only thing we hear is database. I go to church, and that's the only place where I am given hope. That is the only place where I find peace of mind, and someone tells me you are going to make it. When I go home, they're asking me why, questioning my intelligence, questioning my success. But when I go to church, they tell me the right things. So again, it's about the environment which we are in. We are less motivated where we come from, because we feel scaring us and being demotivating us will help us get motivated, you know. Not realizing that with the same amount of energy in a positive way, we even get better results. But you'll be called names, you're not serious, you're not what. But this is someone who's studied, who used to wake up at 1 to study up to 04, got good grades. If you do nursing, you're going to get a good job. If you do teaching, the government will employ you, you see. And all you hear about now is database. You hear that, no, you need to be inclined to a certain political party. You know, you need to do this. You need to go, you go to an office for a job as a woman. The director there, whoever is there, allegedly says, no, let us meet this side for a conversation. You know, this thing, we've heard these stories there everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
so when you go to church and you find your papa is telling you, you are blessed, you are God, what? You are what? They know how to talk to us and say those things. And you feel comfortable, you're comforted. Why not go? What will make you stop being home and being at church, sweeping every day, praying? Because that's the only place of encouragement.
Yeah.
So we need to change our mindset.
But also, it's really sad that, you know, we're talking about these people, yes. These are vulnerable people that we're talking about. And at the end of the day, it's really sad to see that these self-proclaimed men of God are taking advantage of people that are vulnerable and getting the lead to give your offering. It's very important to support the work of God. But at the end of the day, if you as a person who calls yourself a man of God, you are benefiting, you are making millions out of a congregation that, you know, amuntu abwera ku church sanadi aibena vokudya kunyumba bamenasiya, like they are suffering at home, but then that little money that they have, instead of buying mealie meal at home, they take it to church. That little 200 that they have, when they come back home, things become worse. And it's you know, it's a programmed thing, like you said, it's a psychological thing, because you're thinking things will get better every time. Let me give to my papa. But instead of that man of God using that, you know, tithe properly to just make sure that the church is properly taken care of, they go and buy themselves luxury cars, luxury homes. You know, they're living a good life, and at the end of the day, it's business for them.
True. Have you asked a question? Where did the magicians go? There was a period in time when we had magicians out there. You know, they would go there, perform interesting miracles, make some fire up there, do what, and then where are they now? Where have they gone? We don't know where they've gone. But what we have seen is an increase of churches, an increase of papas who claim that they can do miracles, they can make you walk, they can cure you from diseases, malaria, headache, and HIV. So you'd wonder where these people have gone, and you'd say, okay, I think these people have transitioned from this end to this end. And you get to understand that in the business field,
but at the end of the day, I think we also need to encourage people to, you know, pray for the spirit of discernment and get to differentiate who is a true man of God and who is not. Because I think if you pray a lot, your spirit will definitely tell you that and at the end of the day, we also need to emphasize that there are very, very genuine and true men of God there that are there to, you know, serve the purpose of, you know, the kingdom and also just lead people to the kingdom of God. So do not despair. There's true men of God out there. The fact that we're seeing a lot of fake prophets out there, that should not discourage you from going to church or finding a suitable church for yourself that would definitely encourage you in your daily lives. But yeah, who are we? We're only human, right?
You know, you're right, Rhoda.
The Sunrise Breakfast Show that comes your way each and every Monday, Wednesday, and of course not forgetting Friday, where we get to dive into the weekend with so much information and giving you some updates on, you know, what will be happening throughout the entire week. Now, of course, we do have some news headlines coming up for you this morning. In case you missed out on what's happening in our news stories, we will definitely begin with the latest news stories making headlines from across the country. And then we will also be joined by Mr. Emuwana Mwanamwalye, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company. With him, we will discuss the growing challenge and future of waste management in Lusaka. We do know that, you know, there's a lot that we need to talk about when it comes to garbage collection. And this is the company that is responsible for this particular, you know, issue. And so I probably know that there's a lot of questions that the viewers want to ask in terms of garbage collection. There's a lot of challenges that Lusaka residents have been facing. So this is a time for you to stay tuned and also join in the conversation. And later in the program, we will also shine a spotlight on the reported attacks on foreign nationals. I think you did announce, you did mention that, which is in South Africa. And of course, it's a troubling development with regional implications. What is driving the tension, and what does this mean for Africans living across borders? And I think this is not the first time that we're hearing about such reports. There's actually a group in South Africa, in case you did not know, that has been advocating for foreigners to be taken back to their countries. They're saying that, you know, the government should work on their countries, you know, provide job opportunities and make their countries better so that they can go back to their countries. In case you did not know, there is a group that has been advocating solidly for that particular issue.
A lot is happening in South Africa, you know.
And of course, later on a light note, we'll be joined by Jeremiah, the man of sports, and he will be bringing to us the latest scores, sharp analysis, and of course the biggest talking points from the sporting world. So do stay tuned and do stay with us, because if you snooze, you lose.
Of course, and indeed, wrote a program rich in issues that matters to the everyday citizen. But of course, before we get deep into the headlines, policy and public affairs, let us begin with something that shapes our everyday plan, and that is the weather. To your pocket, of course. How is the kwacha performing this morning, and what could it mean for the business, prices, households, and of course, just the everyday citizen? Let us check out the money markets for today. Well, of course, the dollar is buying at 18 kwacha 86 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 18 ngwe, and of course the euro is buying at 22 kwacha 19 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 57 ngwe. The Great British pound, of course, is buying at 25 kwacha 50 ngwe and selling at 25 kwacha 93 ngwe. And of course the rand is buying at 1 kwacha 15 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 17 ngwe. Remember, these are the rates for today, but these vary from bank to bank.
Right, so now we get into our news stories and look at what's trending this morning. And now in Zambia, we do turn to the stories that are shaping the nation this morning. A 24-year-old man of Mongo district has allegedly committed suicide by hanging himself on the roof of his bedroom using a necktie. The deceased, identified as Simalumba Makeche, is reportedly to have shown signs of emotional distress and had on several occasions expressed troubling concerns about him ending his life. Relatives told PTV2 News that although movements were heard from his room in the early hours of the morning, it was only around 06 hours that he was discovered unresponsive, prompting his father to alert authorities. Meanwhile, the Zambia Police Service has urged members of the public to take mental health concerns seriously and to seek support when facing emotional distress. We do have more details in this report.
In a tragic turn of events, the community of North Park in Mongo district is mourning the loss of a young man, Simalumba Makeche, aged 24, whose lifeless body was discovered in his bedroom. The young man was found hanging with a necktie around his neck in what appears to be a case of suicide. The incident is believed to have occurred between 04 and 06 hours in the morning, leaving the family, friends and neighbors in shock and disbelief. Simalumba's young brother Isaac Makeche revealed that his elder brother had been struggling after his grocery business failed. In a desperate attempt to turn his fortunes around, Simalumba sold the family TV and used the money to play an online game called Aviator, only to lose everything.
Ani afande anzuwa anto apena neno lovezi msio siri. Ni anana lovezi msio siri. So anto fumana kulikete ni kwa msio. Ni hapu ile chola. So nto bona kulikuna ni mutu ya hizi makona. Kwa nansi kaiza zangana. Kwa mwani fiterezi kuya kwa msio. Ani kuta pewa mwani maindi yaka kwa mwani fezi kula pinyobo. Nyobo wana kwa tinska sendi bonsa. Nyobo wana kulikantimu wana kawita mezi. Nofumana kuli ulutu zifela me kwa mwani yezi koko vizabatu kwa mabaka yezi kutachwale. Askai plakale. First number 1 shopu iwile. So kono minana ene enzi mato number 1 TV luto twanga kuli TV kantineli luto twanga kuli nemasho ya naba yuzuze kantineli ana ingire ku Alexa beti Aviator imchile.
The family and neighbors described the incident as heartbreaking, emphasizing the importance of reaching out for help during tough times.
lumayibira huluki mwana eza kulina si omwali kakaofera mpulo mukenezi kufi milukyalo eza kulini banana babamu masike bakenula kimu hupulo chalo
lifase lupira lela kataza zezi mwateni lweza fangio kilifera fera chwezo lweza kaofera kuluna abaliteni kaofera lutokomera ngya hulu kuise lweza se kisesi mndeka mba kisesi maswe kakuya kono kubaka kashenu kiliza za umumu kamuso kiliza zela hawa
so ukupafera kuli banana na kuna nibutata bumukeni banana baba inyani ba ababuze kwa baba huru babereze noti kuna hanamina hano ya kuitamerera bakiri lika zalekiwa na kuna nizasinyize safu manwa muntu alekiwa kuna kwa alekiwa mtu hakuna wa papa tabana baruna bayukuru baruna amutuwere zakweza mukwayo wa papata.
The Zambia Police Western Division Commissioner Reha Monga has confirmed the sad development to Prime TV News, urging young people to seek support when faced with challenges. Smalumba's body has been deposited into Loanika General Hospital mortuary. For Prime TV News in Mango District, Marcus Bransakvita reporting.
Well, going forward in our headlines, a family from Zanimone Township in Lusaka has been evicted from a house they had occupied since 2022 following a dispute over ownership. The affected family says they legally purchased the property from another family and had been living in that house since. However, a member of the family that sold the house later challenged the transaction, claiming ownership of the property and rejecting the earlier sale. Following court proceedings, judgment was reportedly entered in favor of the claimant, leading to the family's eviction. The evicted family has since alleged unfair treatment and is appealing to relevant authorities for assistance, saying they currently have no alternative place to relocate to. Namangolwa has the details in the following report.
This family of Lusaka Zanimone area has been evicted from the house that they've occupied since 2021, which house they bought from another family. However, a member of that other family claims ownership, not recognizing the earlier sale.
Aveve nokugolo kamba chawe ni ploti yanga uyu ni mwana wa brother wanga pamene zokwatira bakazi wanapeza mo mwana uyu nshakali na 3 years kansi uyu mnyama ataeve nanga chabecho mubaba na kuamba okula masaimoni kuchita brand vonse kansi kujana kula na roya aletera ise Simon kansi eva ina maroya kuja tenda kuja ise peza mzato aina maroya kuja taenda kupoti kuja atuza timkaburi dia so taenda nje kwenda dabwa chabati zamutumirani phone tikabweta kambede yogoro siriza mulani sitabwera kunyuma penzi pa 18 last month so manje abora atumira message kuenda kuja kupeza uja mulandu basiriza kudala so cha bena kwa pasa cha pitch paper tumulandu wasira ndiye wamezi na bwirako ati mulandu wasira but sibana fonseko vijavo kambati vilibwanji tizachita bwanje otizabwezera ndrama kulibe.
And after a court judgment that has since ordered for their eviction, this family has nowhere to go and appeals to well-wishers to come to their aid.
So hapa ndiye manje ineni sunga mamaya amaona mfana wanga na evenzo bwala nafira pamini pano anansidira bana so ndi pamini mabasungira manje zaenda kutsiba na mpase chiri chonse bana nza basungira kuti na wochi tani bibela you
umwete wakwe washile alisha abana banga 5 so inende lubako bafikisha ineka kwisa ndelo mbako bafikisha tumina funga fishako mubikala wana mwe bantu bakalesa sibeta fyakula makana yakwane.
A check by the Prime Television news crew found the family packing their belongings, and an attempt to reach the other said family that claims ownership had proved futile during broadcast time. Reporting for Prime Television News, Namangolwa Mshokabanji.
Very sad development. But in other news, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has refuted claims that it has increased nomination fees for the August 2026 general elections. ECZ chairperson Mwangala Zalumis says nomination fees have remained unchanged at all levels since 2021, adding that no amendments by the commission and women's political participation of women already serving to support efforts to help
it. Our dedicated reporters across the country bring you accurate, well-researched news, keeping you informed 24/7. Catch us on Topstar Channel 110 and follow us on Facebook at Prime TV2 Zambia. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
Why keep your business in the dark? Shine a spotlight on your brand with Prime TV2.
Has been assaulted by the ant.
Zambia's first ever 24-hour news channel and a trusted platform that helps business grow.
Botswana, of course, behind me is the Kazungola Bridge. And
we broadcast on Topstar Channel 110, DTH platform, and reach an expanding digital audience through our Facebook page, PTV2 Zambia.
Projects that have been dotted across the country.
Advertise with us today. Contact our marketing team on 0978 71 9477. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
When news breaks, we are already there. Welcome to Prime TV2 Zambia, the channel that never sleeps. From community stories in your backyard to national headlines shaping the country and sports and international updates that keep you ahead, we bring it all to your screen. 24/7 news, fast, reliable, unmatched. Catch us on Topstar Channel 110. Watch live on Facebook, PTV2 Zambia. Prime TV2 Zambia, your window to the nation, your gateway to the world.
As the August elections draw near, matters of inclusion have been raised at the Gender Division Accelerating Women in Politics Participation and Leadership Conference, aimed at addressing barriers faced by women in politics, including high nomination fees and challenges within political party adoption processes. This is backed by the United Nations Development Programme.
For UNDP, the quest for gender equality in political participation is not a new agenda. It is central to our mandate, especially on effective governance and democratic development.
Meanwhile, the non-governmental gender organizations coordinating Council Chairperson Beauty Katebe expressed concern over challenges at the Registrar of Societies in approving political party documents, as well as introduction of laws by the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
The drama at the Registrar of Societies cannot be ignored, and we cannot overemphasize. It is hurting our women in politics. The electoral referee, Madam Chairperson, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, also appears to be exacerbating this situation rather than alleviating it. This raises questions about reports, Madam Chairperson, suggesting that the Commission is frequently changing rules and regulations in ways that may disadvantage female aspirant candidates.
However, ECZ Chairperson Mwangala Zalumis refuted claims that nomination fees have been increased ahead of the August 2026 general elections.
There's been no increase on the fees. The way it was in 2021, that's how it is now. Now, I don't know where this comes from, that fees have been increased. The rules, what rules is ECZ making? We have not made any rules. Nothing has changed. It is as it was 2021.
And Minister of Justice Princess Kasuni emphasized the importance of retaining women already serving in Parliament, calling for stronger support from civil society organizations to help sustain women's representation beyond elections.
30 women elected to Parliament, and this is across all political parties, by the way. And then if you see those of us who came back from both, especially the former ruling party and the current ruling party, the pattern was almost the same. How many came from the previous ruling party? The women who came back, retention.
Also at Kafuanka, Prime TV News.
All right, now let's turn to what else is making headlines across the country this morning. Zambia has taken a major step towards strengthening its energy sector following the launch of the Leopards Hill Hybrid Renewable Energy Project by Global. And the project, which is set to become the country's largest hybrid renewable energy development, was officially launched by President Hakainde Hichilema in Lusaka province. The Leopards Hill project will combine 250 megawatt solar photovoltaic plant with a 150 megawatt battery energy storage system aimed at improving electricity supply reliability and stabilizing the national grid. Speaking during the launch, President Hakainde Hichilema reaffirmed government's commitment to investing in clean and reliable energy infrastructure, stating that such projects are key to driving economic growth, industrialization, and improving the quality of life of Zambians. Joseph Tamali does bring us this report.
Zambia's energy sector, particularly the electricity subsector, has in the last 5 years evolved. The growth in the electricity subsector is attributed to the reforms in the energy sector.
Our food security. Reforms deliver results. That's my message, amongst other aspects of the messages that I choose to deliver today. So we will continue with the reforms. British High Commissioner, I heard you. We will continue with the reforms. They are our reforms. And this is the difference. I was saying it at the mining endeavor in Cape Town this year, that for us in Zambia, the reforms belong to us. And we invite friends, partners, the British, the EU, others, to work with.
Today is a clear demonstration of how reforms, I would like to call them bulldozer reforms, your government has implemented in the energy sector, has
grow a country, and you cannot create the jobs we need for the youth of our country and for our children and our grandchildren. So I thank you for what you have done in the power sector and the legislation you've passed, which has now made these projects bankable.
Zambia is also integrating in its international partnerships, from donor-dependent to development and investment kind of partnerships.
So our UK-Zambia energy partnership is an example of how the UK's role in Zambia is evolving. We're shifting from being a donor to being an investor partner to Zambia.
Beyond power generation, Leopards Hill will uplift the surrounding communities, offering hundreds of jobs at the peak construction period and creating skills that will help deliver industry and a long-term positive impact for the country.
With the rising demand of electricity, Zambia has made strides with regards to energy diversification from hydro dependence to renewable energy mix. Joseph Tamaribanda reporting for Prime TV News in Chongwe District.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Sunrise Breakfast Show right here on PTV2. And do not forget that you're joining us live. That is on Topstar channel 110. And we're also live on our Facebook page and YouTube. That is via PTV2 Zambia, where your voice continues to shape the national conversation. Now, another issue that we are going to be talking about this morning, solid waste management in Lusaka still remains one of the city's biggest urban challenges. And we're talking about from delayed garbage collection and illegal dumping to blocked drainages and growing health concerns. Many residents believe the capital city still has a long way to go. While the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company is mandated to oversee waste collection, reports still indicate that only a portion of the estimated daily waste generated in the city reaches the Chunga landfill. Now, the biggest question is, that we're asking ourselves this morning, is Lusaka winning the battle against waste, or is it urgent action still needed? To help us unpack this matter, we are joined by the Chief Executive Officer of LISWMC. I think he'll be able to, just highlight a few things about what their mandate is and going forward, and also telling us what they have been doing currently. We do have Wo Imwana Mwanamwalye, and he's sitting with us this morning just to help us unpack a lot of things on this topic. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, madam, and good morning to the viewers out there.
All right. Now let us begin at the foundation. For viewers hearing about your institution for the very first time, what exactly is the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company, and why was it created?
Thank you very much. So Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company is a utility that was created by the Lusaka City Council to be solely responsible for the provision of solid waste management services in the city of Lusaka. And this was done on the basis of the Solid Waste Regulation Management Act number 20 of 2018. Over time, it has been noticed that you cannot go on to provide solid waste management services on just collecting without putting in place a system that works towards sustainability. So from the days of the Danida project at Lusaka City Council, later on the Millennium Challenge support, it was established and strongly recommended that a utility be established so that we focus now on how do we sustain the provision of solid waste management services, and should be looked entirely along those lines.
Okay. So now, how would you honestly assess the current state of solid waste management in Lusaka City?
The state of solid waste management in Lusaka City is still not good. We still have a lot of our citizens not paying. We are working on the polluter pays principle. So we expect residents to pay for the waste that they generate. Unfortunately, we still have a big challenge, especially in the densely populated communities. Levels of subscription, those that are paying, is very low, at around 30–40%. General attitudes also of the residents of the city. People are not taking responsibility of the waste that they generate. You do see people wait for the rains. When there is runoff water, that's when they want to empty their bins. They wait for the sun to set, that's when they go into the open spaces. We still also have issues with the capacity of some of our service providers to be able to bring in appropriate equipment, although that one is also linked to people not paying for the service that they are supposed to get. Because if you don't pay to the service provider, there's no way the service provider is going to reinvest in the service. Notwithstanding that, we are seeing some progress in this, in what we are doing. For example, at the beginning of the year 2025, our Chunga landfill was receiving about 350 tons of waste every day. At the close of 2025, or talking about now, we are receiving between 550 and 600 tons of waste per day. So that shows that we are now picking more waste from the communities, more than what we were doing before. The other area also that we can be operating as a utility, I would say Chunga landfill was a completely run down facility. It had no equipment, waste was lying all over. But with the intervention of the government, funds were put in, urgent rehabilitation works were done, equipment was procured. From that time up to date, we are striving to maintain that facility in a state in such a way that it's able to receive waste. But also, maybe let me mention also about the quantities of plastic waste. There is a lot of plastic waste that we are having in our environment. In a way, it shows that as a society, our standards of living would be improving because we have these various packaged products that we are consuming. But unfortunately, our citizens, as they consume these plastic packaged products, these are just thrown and they are causing a lot of littering in the environment. Plastics contribute significantly, for example, to issues of blocked drains. So we are engaging the Ministry of Local Government and other stakeholders to see if issues such as the extended producer responsibility can be brought on board so that we start working together with the manufacturers and distributors of plastic packaged products so that we have organized ways of dealing with the plastic waste.
So when the government obviously did announce or introduce the issue of residents, buying plastic bags, that did not, change anything at all?
Some changes could have been made, but I think there is a lot that needs to be done. There's still a lot that needs to be done. Like I said, plastic waste is a problematic issue on its own. You add that to the already poor attitude of the majority of the Lusaka residents. You just have to step outside the Prime TV premises here. You go on Ngwerere Road. When you look around, what will greet you as litter is the plastic bottle of water, is the sachet water, the commonly known as drip, the food takeaway parts. That's what you appear to your eye as litter. So that tells us that there is still a lot. We need to find money to be able to collect those materials from our streets and redirect them for processing and disposal.
Yeah. So you also did mention that one of the biggest challenges that you have is the attitude of Lusaka residents in terms of paying for garbage to be collected. Is there anything that you can do about it to ensure that, people pay, or it's something that, even if certain people don't pay for their garbage, this is going to be like a long-term problem?
We are doing something about it. We are continuously engaging the residents. That's why when we are given a platform like this, we make every effort to. It has not been paid for to be collected. So apart from doing the engagements that we are doing, we talk to the residents directly from our side and also through our appointed service providers. Where it fails, where we fail to agree, we also seek recourse to the courts of law, because failure to comply with established solid waste management services is a criminal offense.
All right. Now, from the percentages that you did mention in terms of the garbage that is being collected on a daily basis and so on and so forth, if only part of the waste reaches Chunga landfill, where is the rest ending up? Is it in drains, streams, or empty plots and communities as well?
Correct. So maybe let me start with the composition of the waste. I approximately 60% of the waste that we generate as a city is organic waste, food waste, vegetable matter. That's followed by plastics at about 20%, then with the other components, metal, textiles, following through. So approximately 10% of the waste that we generate goes for recycling. You will see when you move around our communities, there are those enterprising members of our community who are acting as aggregators. They pick plastics. That doesn't pass through Chunga landfill. It goes straight to the various recycling firms around the city. So what remains, some communities burn the waste that they don't want to hand over for proper collection. Of course, we know the ill effects of burning waste.
Yeah.
Some of the organic waste rots in the environment. Some of the waste blocks our drains and contributes to flooding.
All right. Now, in as much as you have mentioned that the challenge that we're speaking about is, payments for garbage collection, there are some Lusaka residents that have still complained that even after paying for their garbage, they are still not satisfied with the current level of service delivery in terms of garbage collection. Are you satisfied with the level of service delivery, or, do they have every right to be frustrated?
There is still a lot of work to do. The residents are in order to complain, but I wouldn't say everybody is facing the same challenges. We have some zones where service provision is very good. It will be wrong to say everything is perfect. We are using motor vehicles that break down. But there are other zones, yes, where there is a lot of work needs to be done. So in order to strengthen our operational systems, what we are doing is, with the support of JICA, who are providing us with technical assistance, we are developing a digital platform where we are working to capture all the waste generators in particular zones. As I speak now, we have an exercise going on in the Central Business District. We started with Kamwala, and we have gone into the main Central Business District, where we are digitally capturing each waste generator. We have done that in 2 zones also around the Rhodes Park North Mid, where we have also digitally captured the waste generators. The idea there then is that we should be able to monitor from that digital platform instead of us waiting for the resident to call us to say your service provider has not been to collect. We should be able to see that on this designated day of service provision, this vehicle did not pass through. Why didn't you go to collect? Can you go and collect? We will also be able to see whether the waste generator has made a payment or what. It's early days, but we have strong belief that this is going to improve how we provide the service and also how we monitor service provision. But also it's going to give the platform to the residents out there to be able to put in real time, raise real time their concerns as regards the service that is being provided to them.
Now, apart from monitoring, what accountability measures are in place for companies?
So in our contracts with our service providers, we are allowed to bring in another service provider where the current service provider is failing. But in order to do that effectively, that's why we are strengthening the operational model where we are bringing in place the digital platform, so that we should not have a situation like where we are guessing. It should be able, we should have real-time data. For the residents also, I think the people should appreciate that it is just important that they contribute to the management of the waste that they generate. We can seek recourse to the courts of law, but that should not be the best. I think it is important that people take personal responsibility. It is a process. We are working with different stakeholders. Some might be doing very well, others may be lagging behind, but if we all come on board and hold each other accountable, we can make good progress.
Absolutely. Now, indiscriminate dumping and waste burning are contributing to blocked drainages, like you did mention. And of course, we cannot also run away from the fact, of flooding and pollution and just disease outbreaks. How serious is this threat to public health?
This is a very big threat. This is a very big threat. I think we have seen it occur. I remember early this year there was flooding around what place is that, near Avondale, that shopping mall, where we saw when we went there with the permanent secretary and other stakeholders that what had significantly contributed to the flooding was the waste that was being disposed in the drains from Mtendere East. And that caused the flooding downstream around Salama Park. Most of our sanitary facilities are on site. You have pit latrine, septic tanks. So when you have flooding around communities, what results now is that you have a possibility of human excreta contaminating sources of water supply, or just where people will be walking around. So that on its own becomes a serious public health issue. And because of that, that's why all of us should take interest in how we individually deal with our waste, but also how our neighbor deals with our waste. Because the fault, the negligence, the omissions on one or two people of our neighbors can have consequences that will impact the bigger community.
Now, if I look back, I think there was a period of time that we did see a lot of promotions, a lot of adverts on recycling. Is there anything that is being done to promote recycling, waste separation, and sustainable environmental practices in the city?
There are a lot of activities that are taking place around those areas. Like I mentioned, we have enterprising individuals who have seen an economic opportunity. They are picking out recyclable materials that they make available to recyclers. Now, recycling is an economic activity. It is not a free thing. So it requires resources for it to thrive. I think earlier on I mentioned the aspect of extended producer responsibility. If we have to do a good job at recycling, to collect as much recyclable materials, institutionalize issues of source separation of waste at the points of generation, we need the involvement of the consumer. We need the involvement of the manufacturers and distributors of these recyclable materials, of these plastic materials, because it's a costly exercise. In other jurisdictions where you see this institutionalized source separation of waste, where plastic is collected separately, it means there is a functional extended producer responsibility system. We have in Zambia where some entities are doing this on a voluntary basis, but that will just be a fraction. That will just be a fraction as compared to the whole waste stream that require to be redirected for recycling.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mwanamwali, as we speak now, does Lusaka currently have enough trucks, manpower, landfill space and infrastructure to handle a growing population as we see?
No, we don't. No, we don't have the required number of equipment, we don't have the required number of personnel. And this all comes down to the financing. Remember I said we are operating on a polluter pays principle.
Yeah.
So if we have to have that vehicle that has to come to collect waste from Prime TV here and the surrounding communities, Prime TV and the surrounding communities must be able to come together and contribute financially. The money that you contribute as Prime TV, as the residents around here, is what is going to fund that vehicle to come here. It's what is going to allow that vehicle to go to the next filling station next door to draw fuel. That's the money that is going to allow the service provider to pay wages. The estimate, the good estimate currently is that we need about 60 million kwacha every month in the city of Lusaka if we have to collect, transport, and take for disposal the waste that we generate in the city. 60 million kwacha every month. Collectively, ourselves, our franchise contractors, community-based enterprises, on average, we are getting from you, the waste generators, about 14 million kwacha, which is about 20-23% thereabout. So with that difference, it's very difficult. I'll be lying to everybody if I say, yes, we have the sufficient equipment, we have the sufficient manpower, because with this gap, it will not be possible to deploy such resources.
All right. Now, with that said, are there any plans to decentralize waste collection points or introduce modern waste to energy systems?
So in terms of decentralization, if I'm hearing your question correctly, the way we are providing waste collection services is that we have divided the city into zones. And in these zones, we have assigned specific waste collectors. We issued the contracts as a company, the first one that was in July 2024. But we are also looking at, for example, in the densely populated communities or peri-urban areas, we are looking at establishing what we are calling transfer stations, where we should be able to use small vessels to bring waste at a particular point and put in a bigger truck or container and then take for landfill. It's a costly exercise. We are working on a pilot site in Kanyama with the support of JICA. We want to see how that will work, but we believe it can help to manage the costs of providing the service, especially in the densely populated areas where ability and willingness to pay is low. We hope to use those transfer stations as also sorting stations where recyclable materials can be collected from. Modern solid waste treatment facilities, I'm assuming we are talking about treatment of waste before you just take it for disposal. I mentioned that about 60% of the waste that we generate is organic.
Okay.
So yes, why should we be transporting organic waste? Then it goes to rot at Chunga. So we are looking at establishing, for example, biogas digesters, where we can, for example, at Soweto Market, I think if you should have heard early this year, Lusaka City Council announced that they've gone into a partnership with some local civil society organization where they want to put a biodigester at Soweto Market. So we are encouraging things like that, initiatives like that, where you can now treat, for example, organic waste on site and generate out of that valuable products like gas that can be used for cooking by the nearby communities. So yes, we are very much open and encouraging, and that is, we will start, if you do those things, you start viewing waste not just as waste that you are going to throw, but as a resource.
Okay. Now, we've also noticed that certain, residents have this tendency of blaming, institutions, even if they're at fault. How can communities themselves become part of the solution rather than blaming, these institutions?
There's nothing wrong with blaming somebody who is not performing their functions. I think we should be called out at those particular times where we are not performing our functions. But most importantly, how do we influence change? How do we influence change amongst our communities? I've always said, for example, if you go into Freedom Way, if our vehicle has not already passed through there now, it should be there now collecting. But before you reach the end of the street, somebody would have come to put waste there. And there are other people that are watching. Why do we watch that? Let's have a conversation that you can actually keep your waste where you are. And the next collection schedule, when it comes, the waste can be collected from where you are. It's attitudes like that that will change the face of our communities. So we are the people that live in these communities. Why should we allow a neighbor to throw garbage on the street and we are comfortable with that? The flies that will arise from that dump will affect all of us. The diapers that will be dropped at that particular point, they will be exposed to all our children in that community. So let us as communities also take responsibility, have conversations along, impress on our neighbors the need to do the right thing in as far as waste management is concerned.
What message do you have for residents who have lost confidence in the city's ability to manage waste?
There is, people shouldn't lose confidence. We now have an entity that is purely responsible for issues of solid waste management, nothing else but solid waste management. So we are here to provide the service. But even as we are here to provide the service, let it be known to all of us that for the waste that we generate as residents, we have to pay for that waste ourselves as residents. If we don't pay, if Prime TV alone pays and the whole community here does not pay, we are not going to see change. So it is a collective effort. Let's come together and make our city clean. We have to just make the financial contribution.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Mwanamwaliet, for coming through to our Sunrise Breakfast Show and, of course, for sharing those important insights with the nation.
You're most welcome.
All right. Now, obviously, clean cities are not built by institutions alone, but, of course, by leadership systems and responsible citizens working together. Now, let's turn our look at what else is making headlines across the country this morning. Residents of Isoka district have expressed concern over the continued presence of uncollected heaps of sand along the roads in the Central Business District, describing the situation as both inconvenient and hazardous. Speaking to Prime TV 2 News, several residents lamented that the sand, which was reportedly removed from drainage systems, has remained piled along the roads for over a year without being cleared by the local authority. Meanwhile, Kasoka Ward Councillor Brabi Pembamoto has assured the public that the local authority is committed to resolving the matter. We do have more details in this report by Richard Simbaya.
These roads look like they are not tarred due to uncollected sand heaps that the local authorities moved from drainages over a year ago. Residents of Isoka appealing to local authority to remove the sand and other waste piled along the roads. They note that heaps of the sands have reduced the size of the roads.
Mulojese sana kamuseo vino kali katako kicheti michanga na ndije pakule onkana mukule onkana nyoto kazi nizikusupika na accident ya uko zinga nkaningi
motoka na maonda akupinkana pakupita pampo mumbali sinya mna wantu munzira akupita na so whereby zingakozinga na accident we kutekinga moya maonda na misamaye mamanya akasamara chisamalia samari
nderishanyako kumusebo kumu zezi mkwaiti batu kafisha ko bakanso kuli msebo kusanga kamsebo akanono feso tulefilo kwenda bwino ukulingana nga ma transport ama motoka na maonda imichanga kamsebo kaishala fyakanono
imvula itani itonye shira mwaka wakayania nombu mwaka nyo twalolu kuti awe shuwa twe.
Mino Kasoka Ward Councillor Mpembamoto says the local authority is aware for the bad state of the roads. He further appealed to the general public to work together with the local authority where cleanliness is concerned, other than discriminate disposal of waste.
Kasoka Ward on the CBD. The CBD is full of sand all over the place, location, Muzezi Road, and mainly as we go to the church areas. So our appeal to people who are within these areas, let us ensure that we maintain our places clean and ensure that we do silting. Now, as a local authority, we are trying to mobilize funds and the resources so that we start removing the sand which is piling in these roads on the CBD.
Mino, 21 kilometers of Isoka Township roads were partially handed over in 2019 with no proper drainages. Richard Simbaya, reporting for PAM TV News, Isoka, Muchinga Province.
All right, very, very, insightful conversation that we did have earlier. I think a lot of people do have quite a number of questions to ask about garbage collection, especially in, we're talking about areas of Lusaka, yeah? So in every area of Lusaka, there were quite a number of questions that people wanted to ask. Is there inadequate, equipment when it comes to garbage collection? So Mr. Mwanamwalie did answer most of those questions, and he said the landfill equipment is still not adequate for proper garbage collection in Lusaka. So I do hope that quite a number of things will be put in place to be able to see that some of these challenges are taken care of, because we know that if garbage is left uncollected, there are a lot of, effects, and there's quite a number of things that will arise from that, including diseases.
Yes, of course, actually going further, of course, you can still be a part of the conversation by attending your Facebook page. You can also comment. You can also send us, of course, your comment on our number. Now, there's some deep troubling stories actually going on, Rhoda, that have emerged in South Africa, of course, where individuals suspected of being foreign nationals are reportedly being targeted and being attacked. According to reports, some victims have been labeled as Ukwere. I don't know. Ukwere. Yes, a term associated with xenophobic hostility, and are being forced to actually produce passports and explain their nationality. These are painful scenes on a continent that continue to speak about unity and freedom of movement. And let us look at the clip, from South Africa and see them confronting a Ghanaian national.
We are fixing this continent. This thing of you guys moving from one country to the other, it's no longer working. We don't want this as African people anymore. We are tired of seeing African migrants moving all over the world, refusing to fix your own countries. Now we're making it very clear to you guys, Utitina, we don't want you here. We want you to fix your countries. Now you came here with a traveling document. You came with a passport. You know that you are a visitor, but now you decided to come and integrate in our communities. You know very well that what you have done is wrong.
How many children do you have here?
We can come to Ghana and do what you're doing.
passport.
Eh? Now you are carrying a bucket. It's 11 a.m. You were supposed to be fighting the government of Ghana there to ensure that they are getting things right.
No, there's no fight in Ghana. You must fight what they did.
Where's your papers?
Passport.
Passport.
Where's the passport?
Take it out. Baba.
Let me see your passport. Let me see. Luna. Okay, tell me, who's the police officer that you are bribing to certify these things for you? Baba, let me tell you, I'm not foolish. These things, let me tell you, ne? You know by law you're not supposed to certify as an immigrant. You're not allowed to certify your passport.
No.
Okay, why do you certify your passport in a foreign land?
Okay.
Let's just start there. Why do you certify your passport in a foreign land?
You see, it was raining.
Hey, I follow you guys now on Facebook. How are you?
It was raining these days. You see. Then when you go out with the passport, sometimes it gets spoiled. That's why I satisfy it so that it won't spoil. Baba, Ghana don't do that.
Okay.
Ghana don't do that.
All right, sharp.
Ghana
Let me
is
show
the
you.
only African country that is.
Let me show you that when you are
doing the
abusing
same
our
thing.
systems, ne? On the 10th of April, again, the 10th of April, you entered your country when? The very same day you came back when? Yeah, it's a proof. Yeah, proof. Yeah, the proof.
Let crocodile can't go.
You went to Ghana on the 10th, and then you came back.
No,
because here it says you exited Ghana to South Africa. When? Here it says you entered, here you exited. And it's the same date, it's the 10th of April, 10th of April.
This stamp you got there in Elov Street on the street. This is where you got the stamp. Oh, they've got a connection here. No. I am telling you, that's where they buy it from.
Papers don't.
That's indeed a very sad reality that many people are witnessing. And like we mentioned earlier, this is not the first time that something like this is happening. And, South Africans have been seen before confronting Zimbabweans, especially in that regard, and Nigerians, and, just calling them a xenophobic name and calling them, foreigners, go back to your country, in as much as they were able to get work permits and have really good jobs. It's disheartening to see such reports that are coming in. But, at a time when Africa is promoting unity through, of course, trade, integration, and cooperation, Dominic, is it not, tragic that Africans are turning against fellow Africans?
I would want to say it's quite, the approach is very intense. There is a better way to, if you heard what was being said, of course, they were talking about developing your own countries, and I feel this is something very key and very cardinal. We should not be lazy enough to think and feel that we cannot do what we can where we are and where we come from. There's always something that can come out from where we are. There's always something that can dominate and that the world can know us for. But of course, if we're the first people out there, if there's nothing, it means we need to go through the pressure of bringing out something. Coming, of course, to the time we're promoting unity. It's not the first time we're actually promoting unity. We've been promoting unity for quite a very long time as a continent and as countries and even as just individuals, even in political space. But I feel for South Africa, I think it is quite deep, and I feel that the issues of colonization, the issues of the foreign nationals, settlers from out of the continent, I think this is something that they are still trying to fight, and something that they have not really moved on from, and something that they have not worked around to coexist and work and move together. They still want to take over the land. They still want to take over. Look, we've heard a lot of things that's happening, of course, but it's sad that this is happening. But also, people take advantage, because these foreign nationals come with money, of course, and there's a lot of corruption that is at play, and these are one of the things that also makes some citizens become very very candid and very bored to the fact that they want to just let these people go away because they feel they're not being treated fairly. Because how can someone come from outside who's not a national and is privileged, of course. So I think these are all the things that are coming around.
And obviously we know that xenophobic violence and sentiment, that we often, and while, South Africa has a history of hosting migrants, particularly from other African nations, these populations have frequently faced hostility and attacks. And maybe we can also look at the key aspects of this particular crisis that we are seeing. And it's been growing for over the years. Obviously, since 1994, the xenophobic attacks have actually resulted in hundreds of deaths. We saw the worst of it, I think, many years ago. Looted shops, and of course, widespread displacement of foreign nationals. So we now talk about, the targeted demographic. I think I asked you a question to say, why do South Africans target these particular migrants from other African countries? We were looking at Zimbabweans, Nigerians, Malawi, Mozambique, and Somalia as well, and sometimes South Asian countries. The reason why there was a famous post that went viral. We did speak about it with Kizito, where South Africans were being asked to say, why don't you chase Zambians from your country like you do with other people? Why don't you have a problem with Zambians? And there were very, very interesting responses from the South African people. Some people would say Zambians are very unproblematic. When Zambians come to South Africa, it's either they are here for a vacation and they go back. They are always following, the rules. They get their permits and they go back to their country. Very unproblematic, and they are very professionals. So that was quite an interesting, response. And this is why we see that their targets are a lot of Zimbabweans, Nigerians, Malawians, Mozambicans, especially Zimbabweans. I think Zimbabweans have really suffered in the hands of South Africans. So now one would ask, what exactly are the drivers of this particular conflict? Now, these tensions are largely driven by high rates of unemployment in South Africa, poverty, crime, and of course, inadequate housing in poor urban areas and townships. And many locals have for a very long time blamed foreigners for taking jobs and contributing to crime. And maybe we can also talk about the political rhetoric. And we've seen that in recent years, we have seen a rise in anti-immigrant rhetoric from politicians and political parties who actually blame foreigners for the country's economic and social challenges. The government's response in South Africa, critics argue that the government have not done enough to combat xenophobia, leading to criticism that the country is failing to protect the rights of other African nationals.
Yeah,
I think Julius Malema has really been very vocal about being against, this.
And getting back the land, retrieving everything else. Because, after colonization, and then, these people said, okay, these people need to get back what they have, get back the land, give them back their land. And that is a proper apology and a proper getaway of like, okay, what we did was wrong, now we're leaving, we're doing things differently.
Yeah. But what I'm talking about is that Julius Malema has really been vocal about, him being against what South Africans are doing in terms of chasing Zimbabweans or being xenophobic, because he believes that people just come here to work and, find a source of income. He believes that people are not getting their jobs and South Africans are just lazy in nature.
That's what Julius believes.
Yeah, he does believe that, and I think
have you heard the song that is allegedly for in the courts? Have you heard the alleged lyrics of the song?
No.
You should. That you have a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's the reason why most South Africans, when it comes to voting for a presidential candidate, they do not really consider him, because they have a different view of what he's able to do when he's voted into power. So he was asked that particular question on an interview to say, do you believe that these foreigners that are coming into the country are taking away, employment from South African nationals? He said no. Other countries are very much operating with foreigners coming into the country, but that does not mean that they are taking away, your jobs or your employment?
I think for him, his greatest concern is the land.
Yeah.
Is both the land, because also when you talk about employment opportunities, of course, that's business, of course. When you come to our country, Zambia, you know, we have foreigners that have dominated our areas. They've dominated our compounds, dominated our townships, and you know, one funny thing is that their work culture is quite very different from our work culture. If you find foreign nationals show up next to a shop that's for one who's a Zambian national, you find out that the one who's a foreign national shop, you know, is open early and is closed late. But of course, this is also can be because of other factors. These guys actually, most of them sleep in the shops, you know, while it's still maybe your home or is quite further from that place. So I think those are things that are also there. But you know, when you look at the work culture, we need to also work closely and make sure that we improve our culture as nationals, because people coming from outside are actually coming in, doing better, and in a few years that they are driving, they've got this and that. And you know, we need to also look at how our policy is towards these foreign nationals who are coming to do business in our country, what type of businesses they can do. Because in as much as others, for example, like South Africa, they say some of them are lazy. Not all of them are lazy. The issue is the opportunities. When you look at how you, Rhoda, should run your own business, you look at how profitable it is for you to run a business, you'd find out that there are privileges that foreign nationals have who are called investors. They have got a window period not to pay taxes. And we've seen these people be very smart, and every 5 years they change their name. They change the name to this, change the name to that, because, you know, maybe there's a backload and overload of taxes. But for you, the moment you open, you need to pay your taxes. So there are all these things that we also need to look at, the government needs to see, so that it can help us open our own businesses and run our businesses, so that we can be as successful as foreign nationals, or rather they're basically called, you know, love to be called investors. I think those are things that we should also take a look into. So that
imagine if Zambians today started attacking these, you know, Rwandese because of these shops that they own. I think at the end of the day, it's mindset. These people are hardworking. We cannot dispute that the fact. These people wake up as early as 5.
They sleep in the shop.
They sleep in the shop.
They sleep in the shop.
A Zambian shop will open at 10 hours.
Because he sleeps at home. He has to travel in the traffic, because Marodi, Yavuta, they need to give us good roads.
So they know where they're coming from. It's been hard for them. And when they come to a country where there's equal opportunity like this one, they know how to, you know, use the best, get the best out of it. I think what's important at the end of the day is when you come to a foreign country, you know, you make sure that your papers are correct.
But
what the government does not want to see, or what the law does not want to see, is you coming in illegally and now you start fighting with the law.
And you know, we have a lot of illegal immigrants. You know,
those are reported actually most of the times in the news.
Yeah, I'm not actually certified to know who is coming illegal or not. But from my general knowledge, yesterday I was just walking through Kabangwe. I found most of the shops were closed, and people were saying,
I wanted to ask you the same question. Is it that everybody is illegal?
No, this looks like these guys are. Look, I don't know how the process is done, because if you see the questions they were asking that man from South Africa, they asked him a question. You left and entered on you entered your country on the 10th, and on the same 10th you left, he exited and came back here. How possible did you make these movements? And he failed to respond and failed to answer. So, you know, there are a lot of things also, you know, that's why when people say corruption is only politicians, you know,
Dominic,
it's not politicians.
We need to have an interview with the Lusaka City Council.
We need to talk to them. And
we need to find out what really happens there.
Yes, because
why exactly are they running away?
Yes,
what are they running away from?
And how long will they keep running? Because some of them are caught, they're brought back, but they still run. So they're brought back. What's really going on? Maybe we should do our own.
Is it that they're caught and then they have to pay something, then they reopen the shops?
I don't know. Maybe what we should do is we should open our own investigation.
Yeah. Because if you look at these shops, they're not selling anything illegal. It's groceries.
My passport.
Right. Obviously, despite these incidents, you know, they have also been there have been some efforts by some civil society groups to combat xenophobia and promote unity as seen in protests and marches against the targeting of foreign nationals. We did see a report that was done by DWTV where there were quite a number of civil society groups that were marching against xenophobia. So it's safe to say that it's not the entire South Africa that's against, that is, doing these xenophobic attacks. But while moving forward, we still have more to do right here on the Sunrise Breakfast Show. Up next, Dominic will be sitting down with Jeremiah just to give us highlights of what's happening in the world of sports.
Yeah, just before we go any further, let me read a few comments. Actually, we've got a few people that are watching us. We've got Margaret who says, "Good morning, looking good, guys. Watching you from Shantumbu." Margaret has been mute for some time. We love your association. Keep sending us messages. Of course, the boss manje na wewe watuma message. "Good morning bantu wakamene." Wakamina.
When are you going to learn how to pronounce that word?
I don't know why I don't know. And he says that most of the times and every day, Bantuwanga. Yeah, then we've got Richard watching from Muchingo province, of course. Then we've got Nelly B. Dane who says, "DJ Pressure, aka PMC, how come I did not know about this show? I think I will stick here. We love you. Please, DJ Pressure, leave him. Come here to TV2. We love your association. Nelly, just leave DJ Pressure aside." And of course, going forward, we've just received a statement, of course, after the ongoing protests that have been happening. The former president, union president, who calls himself AKA Sunshine Zuba One, the former president, and this is what he says. Let me read out his statement. "Countrymen and women, the youths, Vamonku, Vamoma, both home and abroad, I am disappointed with the ongoing criminal activities in boarding houses surrounding Levi Mwanawasa Medical University. As a student community, we are depressed, suppressed, oppressed, and stressed by the attacks from they are not happening. Students have been reporting these crimes, but no security measures have been implemented. Instead, we receive cold and unprofessional responses from some officers. Sometimes police officers don't go to the scene, and if they do go, it's an hour late. Sometimes we only hear, 'Send us money for fuel.' At this point, blaming the officers or lack of reporting from the students will not resolve the current security crisis. Therefore, we propose the following measures. Increase the number of officers on night duty. Conduct intensive police patrols at night. Partner with private security companies to enhance security in boarding houses. Provide a landline for quick communication and emergency responses. Conduct counseling sessions for victimized students who are at risk of contracting HIV, syphilis, and other STIs. Long-term plan, construct student hostels to accommodate the growing student population. Upgrade Ben Minga Police Post into a fully operational police station with adequate staffing, resources, and rapid response capacity. In conclusion, Bali must know that we are grateful for the student loans, bursaries, which are benefiting students from different financial backgrounds. Bali's government has prioritized education and made it accessible to all. Nelson J. Nyerenda, a.k.a. Sunshine, a.k.a. Zuba One, former Student Union President, Levi Mwanawasa Medical University.
Okay, so the former president has given a statement.
Yes.
And I think the current president did give a statement as well when the students were protesting. And he mentioned that there has been a lot of complaints, but, there's really nothing that has been done by the police. Sometimes students would rush to the police after maybe there's an incident or they've noticed that there's a thief. They would rush to the police and the police would say, or they would mock them or start flirting with the students themselves. So it's quite disheartening.
And one thing that has bothered me a lot is that the student populace over the years have decided to actually blame the sitting head of state directly. But we must understand as students and as intellectuals, of course, that there's a chain of command, there's a chain of communication. And it is you, the students, it is us, the intellectuals, who understand these levels of how communication should be put. And we should know where to go and know who to tell. If I go to the police and report at Birmingham police, and my Birmingham doesn't do anything, I need to go to the probably the highest one is Charleston police there, you know, and report the case. And I can write to the IG and say, or bring up a statement, make a statement. They have got the rights, have got unions. They can come to a TV station, go to a media platform and say, the IG, you, ABCDDD, Papa, you must go. Because directly saying Bali must go. Because of course, I don't think that this has reached his because if those people don't even go to the scene, it's not the president's fault. And we've seen this happening, and young people tend to go on the streets to break people's cars, you know, and cause commotion, and business breaks down. This is something that is very sad. We've seen it with high institutions like UNZA. We've seen this. We're seeing now being as infectious with all other institutions. I feel that we must take the right, the right steps for us to be looked at into quickly, and how things must actually be done.
All right, we do move on, and for now we take a short breather. When we come back, it's Sports O'Clock.
Why keep your business in the dark? Shine a spotlight on your brand with Prime TV2.
Has been assaulted by the ant.
Zambia's first ever 24-hour news channel and a trusted platform that helps business grow.
Botswana, of course, behind me is the Kazongola Bridge. And
we broadcast on Topstar, Channel 110, DTH platform, and reach an expanding digital audience through our Facebook page, PTV2 Zambia.
Projects that have been dotted across the country.
Advertise with us today. Contact our marketing team on 0978 71 9477. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Update. It's amazing to be here and of course talking about so many great things that really will be happening later on this afternoon, and so many things that happened, and one of those is first of all the tennis tournament that will be happening in Champions Haven, and we're talking about the juniors who will be doing their thing, of course. That is next week, just before this month end, and we should be looking forward to seeing how the performance is going to be for the kids. And I think this is one thing that is very, very beautiful, because they are considering children in everything that they're doing, and they've played so many games, which is a very good thing. And these are the future Kazembes that we have to look out for, the ones that are going to take over from the likes of Edgar Kazembe. And, you know, this is a tournament that you have to go and watch at Lusaka Club. We're hoping to see the beautiful thing that will be happening for this particular great tournament that will be going on at this particular moment. And moving on, we get to mixed martial arts. Of course, we did receive the people that managed to win, some of the athletes that managed to win. You can imagine 16 trophies out of 20 athletes that traveled. It's a big thing. And of course, 4 gold medals. And of course, we did get some of the 5 silver medals and 7 bronze medals that we managed to get. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Very, very fantastic. And our lady, the only lady that went to participate in this particular tournament, also managed to get a beautiful, beautiful gold medal. And she became the second female from Zambia to be African champion. And that's amazing for Mutinta. And one thing that we have to talk about, first of all, that table that you are looking at is the table for seniors. They only counted seniors. And this is what Zambia managed to get for the seniors. We got second, and we had, some of those medals that we managed to get, which is a beautiful thing for us, especially when it comes to seniors. And Angola, the hosts did well. And I think for Zambia coming second, it's a very, it's a testament that they are working very hard to receive and get what they're really getting at this particular moment. Moving on, we have some things that are happening as far as basketball is concerned, and I think this is just one of those things that happens at times when things are not communicated to, and a lot of people haven't really talked about a number of things that are supposed to work out, a number of things that are supposed to be happening at this moment, and this is one thing that we always talk about. So there's a letter that has gone, and clubs petition ZBF or Zambia Basketball Federation, and the reasons that they're saying is that they've put fees in terms of participating in the national championship. I think back in the days, qualifying or winning or finishing in the top 4 is just one of the prerequisites for the team to go and participate in the ZBF or Zambia Basketball National Championship. But as it stands at the moment, things have changed. So they have to pay money and whatnot. And obviously, they just didn't even come through to the stakeholders and ask them, you have to pay for you to get into the championship. They never spoke about that, and that should be at the AGM. Those are some of the things that you have to talk about at the AGM, or you need to sit down at the executive, and of course the stakeholders should come in. You negotiate, you discuss, you talk about all these things, and there was no discussions whatsoever, and they just said you have to pay, and that is where the problems are coming from. So if you are affiliated basketball clubs and everything, and they've written now, we are waiting to hear. This is a petition, so we are waiting to hear from ZBF if they're going to talk about anything. And I think they've been in the news for wrong reasons. You remember that there was just recently something that happened with foreign players and whatnot, and National Sports Council issued a statement as well from that particular one, and they gave them the directives, and they told them to even work on their constitution as we are in the year, the election year for basketball as well. So we'll be looking forward to see how things are just going to turn out, if they're really going to bring out, and whatever they're going to say, because the national championship should start as soon as possible, but it's a very big problem if they haven't started yet, and they haven't really answered. They haven't given us the roadmap, but we'll look forward to seeing them and talk to them and discuss the way forward. So let's get to the MTN Fast Super League. We've got some of the games that will be coming through as well. These are rescheduled games. We know that Power Dynamos are playing. We've got Zesco United are playing. Zesco United and Power Dynamos do have a backlog of games, but obviously these are some of the other teams, like the Zanaco do have some games that they haven't played as well. So in Lusaka, we have Nkwazi versus Power Dynamos, and I am going to watch this game. Really, it's at 15 hours in Boyada Stadium. This is the game to watch for everybody else, because we have the defending champions in Power Dynamos, the league leaders, or the champions elect. They might just be champions, and they're playing very good football. So I would like to see how Nkwazi is going to perform. And remember, Nkwazi are in relegation battle, so they have to really win this particular game against Power Dynamos. If they don't, they will be deep down in the relegation zone. And Zanaco against Green Eagles is a game to watch for everybody else to see what is really going to transpire and happen. Zesco United versus Napsa Stars. Napsa Stars are fighting relegation as well, so this is going to be on Thursday. But Napsa Stars are fighting relegation. They have to make sure that they beat Zesco United for them to have a chance of survival. As it stands, things are really bad for Napsa Stars. Things are bad for Nkwazi as well. So they have to keep pushing. And this is one thing, when it comes to Nkwazi, I remember that our current coach, I think talked about Nkwazi and about Napsa Stars, and talked about a number of issues pertaining to how they performed and how they were performing when he was when he was a consultant. But we'll see what happens if he's going to change or the status quo for Napsa Stars. Remember that when they just qualified for Champions League, they played in the Champions League, they were demoted from Ukwele Ndeke to going back in National Division 1. It was a very sad situation, but they only stayed a season in National Division 1 and they came back to Premier League. But it seems they're going back. It seems that they're really going down if they're not going to start winning. And against Nesco, it's a very tough encounter, very tough game, because Nesco United also wants to push forward. They want to finish in the top 2 to go back into playing continental football. I don't know whatever happens for these two teams. We wait and see whatever happens in this particular game. And we'll move on to National Division 1. We do have some games that will be happening, of course. Chipata City Council, one of the teams that have really done very well. They are almost out of relegation, but it's very tough. So they have to win this particular game against Indeni for them to pull out of it. And then we've got Kafue Celtic, a very big game. Kafue Celtic are playing very good football, very fantastic at Chamba Valley, where they're calling it the Crocs. And I actually saw one of the pictures. They had to call Pompey because it's a Crocs. It's called Crocs Valley or Crocs Island, whatever you call it. So they invited Pompey to say, look, you were not allowed. Even at 1640, we allow you to come and watch some clocks. Jokingly anyway, but it was given a jersey and whatnot. So they will be playing against Chingarika Kitwe United, and the River Plate will be playing against Aguera Stars. This is also in Lusaka. So we've got 2 games today in Lusaka, Kafue Celtics versus Kitwe United, and then we've got Independence Stadium, that is behind Hero Stadium, the old Independence Stadium, so against River Plates, Aguera Stars. And then on Thursday, we've got Forest Rangers versus Makeni All Stars, Ndola United versus Locust, and Trident will take on Ron United. One beautiful thing about Ron United game is that if they win, depending on how other results will come, if they win this particular game, they will be on the pole position to qualify to the Premier League. And it's been a long while for them to just get back into the Premier League. And Ron United, really, it's a big team. For those of you who don't really know football, if you're really getting into football, you want to understand Ron United has really produced so many great players. And recently, I think I know a lot of people do know Ntofo, that is in Besuma. He played for Ron United before he went to South Africa. So basically, these are some of the teams that have been there, and they call them stylish. So they're stylish Ron United, and they are topping the table. They only need 4 points, but things change, especially those teams that are following them. That have got a say. Trident has got a say in terms of how things are going to be. Kafue Celtic has got a say. So if these teams that are following them, that are preventing them from qualifying to Premier League, if they lose, then they might even just qualify with a win, 1 win. But of course, for them to be just safe, they have to win at least a game and draw a game in the 3 games that are remaining, because we've reached week 32. We only have 3 games remaining for them to conclude the season. And we've got Jumulo on Friday. They will be playing against Rumwana Radiance. Unfortunately for this game has been postponed. The Chirundu United versus Chambishi. Chirundu United versus Chambishi has been postponed because of they should be playing now, ABSA, because they've qualified to ABSA and we've moved to ABSA now. So they've qualified to ABSA Cup and they will be playing on the 25th. That is Saturday. So they can't play on Friday or they can't play on Wednesday and then go back and play again. So Chirundu United have been given a chance for them to prepare and, just get better and be strong as well. When they get to play against Red Arrows, it's a big game for them, especially in the semi-finals. They want to get into the finals of this particular game and make a name for themselves as they are at the verge of qualifying to Premier League. Chirundu United and Mufrida Wanderers will be playing against Power Dynamos. So it's another big game. So for Mighty Mufrida Wanderers, they're not playing this week, but for Power Dynamos, they have to play because we've got few games remaining. And remember that the last games should be played at the same time. So that's the reason why they want all the teams that have got a backlog of games to make sure that they play them. So they will be playing during the week and weekends for them to complete the whole games and get finished with the season. And lastly, as I am about to go, we get to one beautiful thing that is coming through as far as the under-17 Women World Cup qualifier is concerned. You remember that the Copper Princesses went to Rwanda, and they went on to beat Rwanda 2-0. So as it stands, they are a leg into the next round of fixtures. They should be playing against, when they get here, they should be playing against Congo, Republic of Congo. So that's a big game. For them, it's just a draw, a win, a draw. It doesn't matter. I think they just don't have to lose. If I have to lose, at least lose by 1-0, or by 2-1, or by 3-2. Such margins of losing. But at the end of the day, they have to win it. They do have what it takes for them to win. It's today, so you can see 20 kwacha. For those of you that have to go and support the team, if you are in the Copper Belt, you can support them 50 kwacha and 100 kwacha. For those that would like to get some of those tickets and support the under 17, let's go and give them the morale boost. And that's a coach, Karo Kanyemba, looking forward to winning. Of course, she is one of the coaches, the best coach in our country, because she's qualified the under 17 to the World Cup back-to-back, and to the Africa Cup of Nations. And of course, getting into the next round of the World Cup was amazing for her, into the second round of the fixtures. So she's done so much, she's done so well, and we only hope that these are some of the coaches that we need to push for Zambia. We need to push them so that at least we don't go for coaches like Nora, who are going to put us at ransom, trying to demand things that we can't give them, and stop working the way they're supposed to work in the name of being expatriates. We need to push people like Karo Kanyemba, coaches like Karo Kanyemba, because she's proved, she's really done it. And on a sad note, Patson Daka's team has been relegated. You remember that in 2016 they won the league, the Premier League. It was very sad because at the time that they won it, nobody expected it, because the probability of them winning was 5,000 to 1, but they still went on to win, and they managed to win on the 30th of May 2026. They will be having a 10-year anniversary of them winning that particular league that nobody else expected for them to win. And the likes of Maguire having won the league from Leicester City, and so many of those that managed to win it from there at King Power Stadium. But unfortunately, the same stadium, I think they've really gone down. They were relegated from the Premier League, and this time around they're relegated again into the third tier of the league in Premier League. So this is where Patson Daka will be. I don't know exactly what is going to happen with him, because I think at the end of the season, his contract will end, so we don't know if he's going to continue, Patson Daka. But it's unfortunate that they couldn't salvage themselves. They couldn't really get a win, because if they did get a win, the fight was going to go on. But at this moment, as it stands, things have really gone bad for them. It's unfortunate, but we'll hope for the best for the team. They've been relegated, but they really need to get together and make sure that they put themselves together, work together, and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. Well, this is all we had for you in as far as the sports update is concerned. And all I have to say is thank you very much to the breakfast crew. We did have, Dominic as well as Rhoda, who really gave you a lot in terms of what has been happening in the Sunrise Breakfast show. So we were rising together on Wednesday, ladies' night. And I'm only hoping that you will treat the ladies properly today. Take them out if you can, and keep watching Prime Television 2. Of course, keep watching PTV2. And we've got a lot of programming that is coming through. And big up to Brian for making sure that everything works out smoothly. Until Friday when we get back, God bless.
what we are doing to help us in this season is there's this liquid called sticker that we do apply onto the leaves, we spray the whole garden, and then now we add on the fumigation. That same sticker, that liquid, it does help, should I say, it helps hold the medication, the fumigation, and not have it washed away by the rain.
And I would say yes, with a big yes. The fish business is very, very profitable as long as you have enough water and you have the knowledge, because you can have the passion. If you don't have the knowledge, you won't know what to do. So we've found that producing fish, this is the reason why we are able to even increase to have more fish ponds, because it is very, very profitable.